They say that true understanding comes from the ability to see the same thing from a different perspective. Last week, we had an opportunity to hear from a chief marketing officer who talked about how marketers have to be a great blend of art and science. We spent a lot of time talking about data accountability, financial accountability, even sales enablement. This week, we're going to talk about the same thing, the blend of art and science, only we're going to look at it from the flip side of that coin. Hey, Rogue Nation, it's Chip Rosales here, and I'm so glad that you have joined us for another episode of While You Were Working Live. If you are a business leader who's looking to visually attract new customers and is looking to captivate them, then today's episode is the episode for you. That's because we're joined today by managing partner of White Unicorn Agency, Jonathan Rosenberg. We're so a lot about Rogue. We know a lot about you. One of the things that you know about Rogue is that we love to do things differently. So I'm making you an honorary team member today, and I'd love if you could tell our audience when you discovered that you were going to stand out and that you were going to do things just a little bit different.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on the show, Chip. I greatly appreciate that. So
Glad to have you.
I think for me, it's kind of, I guess over the last 8 years, I started over 7 different companies since around 2010. Things like Sfuzies or Koa, Standard Pour, Deck on Dragon, White Unicorn, Alice. And I believe having my perspective as a serial entrepreneur has allowed me to look at our clients and understand where they are coming from and what challenges they might face. On this non-traditional journey to entrepreneurship, I think I continue to look for projects that captured my curiosity and passion. And I knew that I did not mind working. So the challenge for me was finding something that I love to do. And I really believe that I'm at a place here at White Unicorn that allows me to express that and has my undivided attention and curiosity and passion on a daily basis. I just love helping companies grow and look their best doing it.
Yeah, that's so cool. I know that you have, I imagine actually, that you have a lot of clients who come into you. They've got these ideas and they say, I think I know where I want to go. I think I have an idea of how we could get there. I need a website, and it needs to be modern and sophisticated and timeless and simple. And somehow you find a way to make all of that true, and you work through all that. And so my question is, how do you get to the understanding what the client's real needs are? Maybe you've got an ability or a methodology, some things you could explain about, like how you talk. Maybe you can talk about some specific projects that you have and that you've undertaken and how you use design to solve a real business problem.
Sure. I think if we break down the full spectrum of services that we offer, it all boils down to 2 important goals for our clients. Get a client's more awareness and sales. And I'm overly simplifying the type of work we do, but I've kind of spent a lot of time figuring out those are 2 major goals that we're always trying to accomplish for every single client. So knowing that, we're also lucky that a lot of people find our agency for a specific problem they think or need. And what I think we're very good at is taking a step back and talking to them about who they were, what they're trying to do, where they got to, why they're here in the first place. And it always ultimately comes down to those 2 metrics that I mentioned. With that said, I'll give a good example. We most recently did some work for Nick and Sam's. And Nick and Sam's came to us as their website hadn't been updated for a significant period of time. And after talking to their ownership, we realized very quickly that the restaurant had major improvements and changes over 2 decades and was always pushing the envelope in first-class hospitality and service, exquisite food and beverage, along with a warm and inviting atmosphere. However, what they were not doing was replicating that same experience in a digital world. They didn't think they needed to. And what we were able to do after talking to, and I wish there was more science to this. I think we did a lot of interviewing and talking to ownership and staff and getting down to the core of what they were doing inside the restaurant. And we figured like we could bring that attention through the digital space through a rebrand. And our attention focused very quickly on their ampersand. If you look at it, and in our case study, we kind of has a hospitality serving arm, which is a fundamental key component of who Nick and Sam's wants to be known for and remembered. It's very subtle, but hopefully that hint now will kind of change your perspective on how you look at everything. And the fun part about that subtle change was they allowed us to kind of replicate that DNA throughout a variety of assets, including the website. Let's even go out to the outside of Nick and Sam's, from signage. Before you even walk in, we redesigned the menu layouts, the napkins, bathroom signage, bar mats. So, as well as every digital presence they had with Facebook and Instagram. So they initially came in with something that they thought didn't work on a mobile device. And we ultimately got to a deeper layer of understanding what they really wanted to achieve, which was the exact same experience you get in the restaurant, but in the digital space. So again, projects like that are super fun for us, and we never know how we're going to get to the answer.
It's incredible how something so that they didn't expect it to be the thing, but like even that ampersand, just that little tiny something, how that gives fire, if you will, to the great idea. And then ultimately, they might look at it as an ampersand sign, but you looked at it as a digital experience, and you looked at it about how do you extend what's happening in the restaurant into that digital medium. I think that's really cool. It makes me think about some of the work that you've been doing on your own website. So Rogue Nation, if you have not yet had an opportunity to go look at whiteunicornagency.com, we certainly recommend that you do and invite you to. One of the things that happens a lot, Jonathan, is, they say the cobbler doesn't have, great shoes, and mechanics have the, most beat up cars, and doctors make terrible patients. Those are some of those great cliches. And I imagine that marketers, do the worst marketing, and maybe even designers, can get really caught up in that amazing design. So you've recently underwent a new web design. It's really cool. How did you take all of that? How did you step back, give yourself a little bit of distance, and say, you know what, this is the way that we can extend what we do and what's special about us into that digital platform?
Yeah, I think you're so right in that analogy. We're so good or focused on working for our clients, but when it comes to ourselves, even in our example, we're just not that good. But I think we try to do three things well here. We took a step back, and we wanted to actually treat ourselves like a client. We gave ourselves the deadlines and schedules the same way we would, and kind of roped ourselves in the same project methodology that we would have for anybody, which ultimately was a big deal. I think second, we created case studies of all the projects. And lastly, we focused on brands that you were aware of. So let's take the weekly meetings. We went over ideas, statuses, and updates. We held ourselves accountable to timelines. And we got to this place because we tried to do it the other way, which was, we'll just do it when we can, when there's time. After failing at that for the first few months, we said there was a better way to do that. And I think treating ourselves just like a client was the answer from an accountability standpoint. And then secondary, I think when it comes to how we did it and what we showed, our main focus, I think I've spoken to hundreds, if not thousands of people, and nothing resonates more than showing them something. And at the end of every project, we've added a layer of internal creation and case studies. And it is the utmost important thing we can use to visualize what we do and how we showcase that for people. And then the last thing, which is the biggest one, I think, adding brands that we work on lots of projects. We're very proud of a ton of work, but I've sat in a room and explained work for somebody, and when I mention who it's for, I can see they've lost interest. I hate saying this out loud, but it's true. When we can actually connect with something that you're familiar with, if it's the Hilton Hotel or Nick and Sam's or Michael Kors and Diesel, you resonate with what I'm saying very quickly versus a tech startup you've never heard of. The project seems meaningless. So I think treating ourselves like a client, showcasing our work in case studies, and trying to showcase the stories with brands that you're aware of are three things we focus on to achieve our site or digital presence. We maybe wanted people to be aware of what we're capable of doing.
I think that's a real good thing for the listeners too. A lot of our listeners are definitely sitting in leadership roles at marketing organizations, and just the thinking about yourself as an actual client and working through that, looking at those case studies and some of what you were able to generate there, and then even thinking about those brands that you know and what you were able to pick up from those. I think those are some really great insights and some cool takeaways that our listeners can go away with. I know one thing, if I've ever worked with a designer, and I don't think you guys escape this as well, you guys would love to take, decades to work on stuff. You guys are always looking at it and it's never as good as you wish it would be, or you've got another idea. So how do you overcome that barrier? You're not alone in that. Actually, all of us who have any creative bent at all, it's always that next something. And so how do you account for speed in this scenario?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I feel like today our biggest challenge is the speed of which anyone wants work completed. So we have to make a case for time. We have to make a case for time. And for the most part, I have one major rule. And if a client or project or person doesn't have the time, we're not here to fight that. If the door's open and time isn't the issue, I think we can have a conversation around what we're trying to achieve. We remind them that speed's not the answer. They're probably here because they're doing a lot of the right things. They're probably doing a lot of the things right already. So I don't know if another month or 2 months is going to dramatically change what they're doing. And I think coming to them from that perspective really helps. But it's twofold, because I also in turn turn around very quickly and say it takes us about 4 to 6 weeks to get to know a new project or a new challenge. And after working together for a certain period of time, there's usually a heavy burden of the learning curve in the beginning process that we're very comfortable with. But after a while, we start to understand you sooner and quicker, and timelines can be shortened. I don't even like saying that out loud, but it's true. What I don't know about someone tomorrow from just, let's say, if I took a photo and we're creating an ad, I have hours of questions about what you're trying to achieve, who you are, all the good stuff. If I'm 3 months down the road with you on a variety of projects, to get a request to say, can you create a quick ad? I probably have the asset. I probably worked on copy with you. I probably understand you through and through. So to take a stab at that and to give you some examples in a day, which might take a week or 2 weeks, is really what I try and earn that from them. So if I get them to understand, it's a little heavy up front, but if we continue down the relationship as a partner, I think we're going to get better at knowing you, and the speed will increase. But we will still always make a case for time, and I don't think we'll ever win it. So.
I know that we're going to take that. We're going to take that banner as well and try to make those cases for time as well, because you make a really good point. It takes a little bit of time to understand, and you're right. There's that curve that over time you can start to speed things up. You know something more intrinsically. So I love that. I will be using a case for time, and we'll give you full attribution there.
Yeah.
So today, we have a show. It's called While You Were Working. And the whole premise of that show is the idea that as leaders, as marketers, we just are really, really busy. We're so busy doing our day job. And so, Jonathan, lots of times we kind of keep our heads down. We're just doing the work. We're doing great stuff, and things pass us by. And so I'd like to take this opportunity and say, as you're thinking about 2019, and you're thinking about maybe some of the work you've done for yourself, or that you're in the process of doing with clients right now, what are some of those things, design-wise, or that you're thinking about that listeners and viewers should be thinking about as well as they plan for 2019?
That's a great question. I think two things probably come to mind for ourselves, and I didn't want to go down rabbit holes of graphic design trends or technologies. But just really two things that if I go back and look what we're doing this year and what we're seeing, and what when we actually try and focus on the future, one of those things is the resurgence of immersive experiences. And what I mean by that is I was in a wedding in Santa Fe, and everyone kept talking about Meow Wolf. I didn't know what that was. And this was a company, a place that has artists across multiple disciplines, from architecture to sculpture to painting, photography, and video production. And basically, it's a museum where you can walk through and have an experience through a variety of different ways. I think it's engaging. I think with having phones now and people want to be taking photos with you, I think we're past just showing something and having someone to understand what that is. I think we're trying to bring them into the experience. In Dallas, there's two things going on. I live next to one that just popped up. It was the Sweet Tooth Hotel. And there's lines out the door. And I'm like, what is this place? And it is a candy themed experiential art pop-up shop. But there is a line out the door, and I still don't understand what it's for. Is it a certain artist? Is it a certain genre? And what I realized quickly was it's the experience of it all that I think people are into. And even more so now, I think at the Crescent Hotel, there's the psychedelic robot, which will be an immersive, interactive pop-up museum. So I think what I'm looking for now are how brands might take this experience of I might take this idea and start incorporating us into the equation, and not just show us something that we're supposed to digest, but rather include us in an experience. So that's one thing I'm looking more forward to seeing down the future. And then the second one for me is just something obvious. I think I fight for this daily, and our designers do, which is to stand out. I think there's so much white noise out there. I think everyone is very safe. I think companies are too safe. I think people are too safe. And what they don't realize is that everyone else is doing what they're doing. I'll be very basic. Let's check a box. I have a logo. We've got a website. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Hey, I even have a shopping cart. I should be selling things, right? The answer is no. I think take a step back and go, you're doing what the basics of what you think you should be doing. But if you realize what you want to do is actually telling a story that makes a difference, or why I would be interested in your product or your service or your offering, which is the most important piece, that's something I'm really going to look forward to seeing which companies and ideas in 2019 are companies and people that I think we would want to work with a lot, where they want to take a chance and take that risk to do some of that stuff. So those would be two things I'm looking forward to for the future.
That is incredible. You are singing our song. That is that's fantastic. Great. We always say that if you are if you're for everybody, then you're for nobody. And so all of that really, really resonates very strongly with us. Jonathan, I'm super glad that you were able to join us today. We're big fans of your agency, as you know, but Rogue Nation, as you're watching this, check them out. These guys are incredible. And you will also get an experience when you go to their website and just check them out. I'm looking forward to learning about some of those pop-ups that you were just talking about and some of those experiences. I can't wait to go see what their digital presences look like and kind of experience that as well.
Sure.
So Rogue Nation, as you know, in just a little while, we'll have this blog post over on our gorogue.net. And so you can go check this out on Rogue Think. We'll have links to all those things that Jonathan was just talking about. And of course, we're just grateful that you spent time with us today. Thank you for watching all the way here till the end. And we will look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye, everyone.